For all of us who are long-term residents of the City of Ottawa, things just don't get any better. I live in Orleans, and I actually gave myself extra time this morning. I was actually here at 6:45. I got that wrong.
You really wanted to make it at the meeting, you can tell.
I wouldn't want to miss this for the world. There's a package of material that was placed on your seat prior to the session. That includes the agenda for the full mornings. It includes the formal agenda for the business portion of the meeting. That includes the motions that we're going to be dealing with in the business portion of the meeting. And I want to make sure that we're clear on that because there's been a couple of pieces of paper have gone out, but I'll come to that later. There's a list of all the InfoMark participants, and you have the usual questionnaires such as your evaluation of the meeting, etc. Microphones. We've got them. I'm going blind. There's one over here and there's one here. There's nothing to turn on. If anybody has a question, just approach the microphone.
Camille?
State your name for the records. We know who you are. And ask your question, pose your point. There were supposed to be 2 portable microphones. No? Okay.
They might be right here.
Okay, so there's also 2 portable microphones on the outside of the room for those who have problems getting to one of the microphones in the aisles. Cell phones. Mine's on silent. I would really appreciate it if everybody else does the same thing. I used to do the International Maritime Organization in London, and they used to have an old rule of thumb. If your phone went off in a meeting, it was a £10 fine. I may keep that under advisement for this meeting for $20 for next year. Hey, you know who's using the money? We're like the government. In fact, we were the government. And the last thing before getting into the business session, I would actually ask those of you who can to please stand for a minute's silence in memory of those members of the National Association who are no longer with us today. Thank you. At the coming up of the sun and the going down, we shall remember them. Thank you. Okay, the formal part of the meeting. Before we get into the presenters, we do have some formal business to take care of, and this is a long outstanding item. The whole file on the disincorporation has been running for almost 3.5 years now, and I actually see daylight at the end of the tunnel. As you're aware, the Ottawa branch of the National Association is currently incorporated. At the annual general meeting of the full membership, the national membership in June 2014, there was a resolution passed that a branch may not incorporate and that existing incorporated branches would have 3 years, that is until June 2017, to disincorporate in order to remain part of the National Association. And as a parenthesis, I'll say, by the way, it was the Ottawa branch moved that resolution. So we were a strong believer in this. In the fall of last year, last fall's October meeting, 2015, You also approved a set of resolutions. One was to ask your board to promptly take all action necessary leading to a formal resolution for the dissolution and incorporation of the Ottawa branch and put in place an unincorporated branch. And you asked your board to also agree the creation of a trust for the sole purpose of holding the fixed property asset, which is the office. And you also asked us to report on actions on the above at each annual general meeting of the membership and General Assembly. So by resolution, we have to report to you. Anyway, I have to say this, as members, you will see no difference whatsoever in the way business is provided or services are conducted within the context of the Ottawa branch. This is purely a legal situation where we're dealing with a disincorporation. It's that simple. You will still call the same people, you will still get the same stuff, etc. So as members, you will see no difference, and I'll deal with the building when we get further on. Your branch, since all those resolutions, has taken a number of actions to meet these directions, and today I'm going to be asking you to approve a number of resolutions to continue to give added effect to disincorporation. And I have to say these resolutions have been developed at the request of and in very close conjunction with the National Office and the National Office staff. They were raised at this year's spring annual members meeting, which was back in May. They have been available on the branch website, and we've done a chair drop for you today. I will note that the chair drop on one of the resolutions, there is a slight editorial which I'll speak to. As these are actually board submissions, I, as the chairman of the board, will be moving the resolutions, and Mr. Raballo, as the chairman of the Policy and Governance Committee, will be seconding. So we will not be seeking a mover and seconder from the floor. They're going to be board proposals. We will certainly be opening up for discussion and questions. The first resolution deals with the anticipation of the dissolution of the federal branch and the creation of an unincorporated branch. And the first resolution, if you read it, deals with the board is directed to establish an unincorporated charter branch of the association to be known as the National Association of Federal Retirees, Ottawa Branch, for the purpose of continuing to serve the members of the Ottawa branch following the dissolution of the Ottawa branch as an incorporated branch of the association. And by the way, Danielle, Louis, plug your ears. I always love legal speak. As an incorporated branch of the association and its replacement by the said incorporated charter branch of the association. B, the board is directed to establish one or more bank accounts for the said unincorporated charter branch and to allot funds to such accounts as it deems appropriate. And C, the bylaws attached to Schedule A be approved as the bylaws of the National Association of Federal Retirees, Ottawa branch. That is the first resolution. What that will in effect do will allow for the creation of the unincorporated branch with the accounts and the bylaws. The bylaws, by the way, comply with the directed national template. So there was some mandatory requirements, and where there was flexibility given to the Ottawa branch, we used the existing bylaws and dropped the text, the principles from that straight into the new bylaws. So the bylaws are either directed or as per the existing ones. The second resolution that you will be asked to deal with is the one that deals with the directors. I'm not going to read the legalese, but basically what it says is you take the current incorporated branch board and you create those directors or appoint those directors as the directors for the unincorporated branch. Because once we make the step to an unincorporated branch, the only business that can be done by the incorporated is to wind things up. So that's why I said this is pretty significant. And as I said, the directors you're being asked are the current board of directors, Monsieur Brunet, Peter Cormier, Greg Gillespie, Bob Giroux, unfortunately, he's not here yet.
He is. He just arrived now. He'll just show up in a minute.
Okay. Bob will be coming through the door. Claire Hardy, Diane Lassalle, Louis Raballo, Giselle, Keith, Richard, Dave. One position to be appointed, and I'll do a quick parenthesis on that. As a result of the annual members meeting, the two national directors on the national board for Ottawa had to be replaced. One because Jean-Guy Soulière was elected president. Bonjour, Robert. And the other one resigned, Mr. Conrad van Finkenstein. So two current directors of the Ottawa branch have been appointed to the national board of directors, and we're looking to replacing them. Dave's graciously agreed to be one of those individuals, and we're in the process of trying to recruit another female, a woman, bilingual. If anybody's interested, please get hold of Giselle or I, for the vacancy that currently exists, the one vacancy that exists. And then last but not least is myself. The last resolution is to put the assets of the Ottawa branch be transformed to a trust, and that's to ensure that beneficiaries, the Ottawa unincorporated branch, will have the benefit of the use of the building, title being held by National. There is one change between what's on the website, and I may be corrected on this, but certainly what was posted previously, and the chair drop, and that is the resolution stops at by a trust agreement. So if you have a version that continues with executed by the association, the incorporated branch, the trustee, and a representative, that is gone. That is as a result of a meeting that was held October the 13th between the branch and national office and legal counsel, where we hammered around some legal texts, and the lawyers for national office explained their position, and we all said that sounds fairly reasonable, so we'll go along with that. What it does, it was to clarify some of the bits and pieces about how that trust will be set up to ensure that while National holds title, you, the Ottawa membership, actually retain the full beneficial use for its lifetime as the Ottawa branch. So that's the technicality details. So what I'm going to do then is move on to the approvals. As I said, it's moved by myself, seconded by Louis. And I'm going to put the first question on the table, and that is Resolution A, with particulars of A, B, and C, which is the creation of an unincorporated charter, the establishment of bank accounts, and the approval of the bylaws. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, I will put the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you very much. The second resolution, as I said, is the Board of Directors, and that is to appoint those individuals I've named as the new directors for the unincorporated branch moving forward. So again, moved by myself, seconded by Louis. I will put the question. Are there any questions? Over here. I'm on the list I'm reading.
But your name is not on the list.
Not on the list. It's not on the list.
look on
You
the-
should be on the list.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that the chair drop version?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to reiterate then. Thank you very much for the clarity. There's been, hey, let's call it what it is. It's been a screw up. I'm going to rename because this then is, I'm working off one that is lists 12 people and one vacancy. I'm going to reiterate. The names on the list for directors for unincorporated are Daniel Bruni, Peter Cormier, Greg Gillespie, Robert Giroux. Where's Robert?
Claire.
Claire Hardy, Diane Lassalle, Louis Raballo, Giselle Samson-Verreau, Keith Fernandez, Richard Wagner, David Bennett, Steve Troy, and one appointment to be made by the board to replace a vacant, to fill a vacancy. So there's one vacant position. So you've given the board the ability, which it has today, to fill that vacancy. We always have that. That's what should be on the list. If you've got one that says otherwise, forget it. It's incorrect. And mea culpa. But thank you for raising that, because what you're looking at, what I'm looking at, two different things. Does anybody have any further questions? So I don't know technically whether this becomes an amendment to the motion. Which is what, I wasn't going to actually point out Deborah Krause is the governance officer from the national office. So actually, yes, because there's some names missing, it would be to motion to amend, and that would be to add Dave Bennett, one vacancy, and Steve Troy.
Steve, do you want to reflect your year?
For what term?
Year
Oh.
term.
I'm indeterminate. Dave is 2017 to the next annual general meeting. So because it's come from the floor, could I ask for a motion to amend for those additions? Moved by Terry Singh, seconded by, thank you, Catherine. So deal with the amendment first.
Who was the mover?
It's moved by Terry Singh and
Okay.
it's seconded by Catherine. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, I'll put the question. All those in favor of the amendment? Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Any discussion on the amended motion? Hearing none, I'll put the question. All those in favor of the amended motion? All those opposed? Thank you very much. The last resolution deals with the trust. Basically, all this does is to give the authority to the board to move ahead now for negotiating the final formal trust agreement for the building. And I'm just going to quickly reiterate, because this has been a painful process. Don't laugh, Deborah. It's been a very painful process. Fundamentally, the building, Unit B2 on Saint Laurent is yours. It's the property. It was bought by the membership of the Ottawa branch. When the dissolution of the corporation debate came up, it was very clearly understood and recognized and expressed by a number of you as members that the branch should retain the building. But there was a number of legal points and bits and pieces we had to deal with, and where we finally finished on this is simplistically, and Louis and Danielle, being the lawyers and whatnot, can correct me, but I'm going to be quite simplistic, is that the intent is to move the title of the building to national, but there will be a trust agreement in place whereby the Ottawa branch, and there will be trustees on behalf of the unincorporated branch, will take care of the relationship of that with the national office to ensure that the Ottawa membership gets complete, continued, unfettered use of the facility. If sometime in the next 21 years, or 21 years, 27
21.
years? 21 years, we decide to sell it, if it hasn't fallen down by then there's another question which we'll be back to, which is the disposal of the building. That's where we are on it. So this is all really a legal technicality. The biggest issue was, because there was a lot of discussion about repurposing the current corporation to create it as the trust, and the bottom line is we cannot, because the initial resolution was very specific. Ottawa branch had to surrender its current objects of incorporation. So we had no choice. So this is the legal mechanism to get us to a state of being where you told us you'd like us to take you, where you wanted to be. So that's sort of the long and the short of that. Are there any questions? Okay. Yes. Can I have your name, please?
Maybe.
Yeah, Jeff, you're kind of quiet-spoken. Can I ask you to sort of pop around the corner of the microphone? No, he's right beside the mic.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it is. Okay, I just noticed in the listing of the address, it's stated as Unit B2, Saint Laurent Boulevard. That doesn't sound like a complete address.
It's not a complete address. It's not a complete address.
You're correct. It's, I mean.
Does that matter, or,
Yeah.
I mean,
We should identify 205. It should be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's amend it.
My
just-
advisor here is nodding, says, yeah, we should amend it. So, would you like to move, the actual number address is, can somebody give it to me, because I can't remember? 2285 Saint Laurent Boulevard.
yeah, it just seems to need a number on Saint Laurent Boulevard to be a real
Yeah,
address.
so you're
Yeah.
quite correct. Would you actually like to move that as an amendment?
Yes, I would.
So can I ask for the name again?
Jeff King, Geoff, and then King, King.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Okay.
Is there a seconder? Your name? Thank you, Chris. Okay, is there any, let's not discuss a number. I'm going to put the question, all those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put the main question then. As amended, all those in favor of the amended resolution? All those opposed? Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for your continued support. This has been a long process. I started this in the fall of 2013. And Louis joined me in the, I don't know what it was,
12 to 13.
the following year. And it's been a long process. But I have to take the opportunity to express my appreciation and thanks to Louis for his hard work and the patience of getting us to where we are today, and also to the support he got from the Policy and Governance Committee. And I'd also like to express my thanks to all of you for putting your trust and faith in us as we've moved this process along. It ain't over, but it should be over next, well, whenever our meeting's going to be. I think it's April next year. And you will be getting those resolutions. We're actually getting ahead of the game for a change. Those resolutions you should be receiving in the next edition of SAGE. Anyway, it's the one you're going to see in your household November, December. They're actually included, and those are the resolutions that once they're approved, we then take action with the province to file the documentation to wind down a corporation. What you have done today is allow the creation of the unincorporated branch. The incorporated branch can only now do business to close itself down. So there's actually going to be 2 sets of board meetings, I guess, from now on, which is going to be a bit of an interesting challenge. I'm looking at the board, they said, I didn't know that. Anyway, but it is greatly appreciated for the time and effort you've given us. And I'd like to call now for a motion to approve.
Part of the first resolution.
As part of the first resolution. So I'd like to call now for a motion to adjourn. Don't need a seconder, I just need a mover. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. The business portion of the meeting is adjourned. We're ahead of the game. I'm going to ask now, I'm going to turn we're ahead of the game, aren't we? Okay. So I'm actually going to turn things over now to Daniel Brunet, who's chairman of the Membership Services Committee. All the good fun stuff that's about to follow, if it's fun, give him the credit. If it's not fun, blame me. That happens all the time. But as I said, I'll turn it over to Danielle now and leave it with him.